is Dave Ashheim, and I started Engage by Cell about 16 years or so ago. And this webinar, though, is mostly about how Barbara has been using technology, mostly ours, but the concepts will apply in general, to really improve the whole engagement aspect of working with your workforce folks. Barbara, maybe give everybody just a little background on yourself, and then I'll move to Max.
So I'm Barbara Weir with the Burlington County Workforce Development Board. I've been employed as a senior program analyst since 1998. I'm currently more of the business services liaison here. So my job is really creating partnerships with employers so we can satisfy our job seekers' needs.
Excellent. And Barbara's been a client of our company for a long time and
has
really, how long, Barbara?
I want to say 2015.
Yeah, I think it's been 5 or 6 or 7 years. That's right.
It has been, well, we may have done the onboarding process and how to do things in 2015, 16. And I think we really just took it and ran with it about a couple years ago. I mean, about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it'll be great for all of you on the call to ask, as we're going through this presentation, to ask Barbara questions about, and we'll talk about how did she get people to sign up for text messages and what works, what doesn't work. And that's kind of the point of today. And Max, you've been spending a lot of your time in the workforce development world lately. Maybe just mention a little bit of that.
Yeah, my name is Max, and I'm a senior mobile solutions consultant with Engage by Cell. And I have really, the past 5-6 months, been in the trenches with all the different workforce development boards across the country. Really, I've been, going to Dallas here soon, been up to Chicago, been out to Buffalo, hanging out with, probably 20 different boards out there. Spent some time recently down in the Virgin Islands working with their Department of Labor and helping increase engagement levels. And so I've been really immersed on all the different levels, from small municipality all the way up to the Department of Labor. So kind of got a little bit of examples from everything in between too. So
great. All right. Our company's been around, as I said, 15 years or so. We've really focused the last, probably around when Barbara came on as a client 7 years or so ago, in the workforce and job training world, from Goodwills to workforce boards like Barbara's, to a lot of technical colleges, 4,000 clients around the world. Probably most of those are here in the United States. And we really think we've got a good pulse on what technologies can help on the workforce side. And Barbara, just a little bit about where you're located and what you folks do there.
So the Workforce Development Board actually is more of oversight, coordinating, planning for both our job seekers and for our employers. And our board is actually made up of 51% employers. We have labor. We actually have Goodwill as one of our customer-based organizations. And then we have our chamber, our economic development leads. We have education also included, because you need to have those partnerships, especially businesses, to drive what we do. And when we're doing our oversight of, say, a one-stop career center or an American Job Center, they're both the same. Some areas call them different. You want to make sure you have those businesses and those other leaders kind of directing how we're supposed to oversee things and how policy should work and the governance part of it.
Yep. Well, then you've seen everything in your, 20-some years there. So
yes,
from COVID to the growth to.
We've seen like just a massive, all of a sudden, close down, where we had to do a reverse job fair, and anybody who was at the doors of the locked business just came to us quickly. We had to circle the troops for all the other employers that, hey, are you hiring for finance? I have executives here without a job. They didn't know what was happening. They went to work and the lock was there. So we've seen that. We've seen a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And then COVID.
And COVID, yeah. And I think you were saying to us earlier in the week, it's gone from organizations wanting master's degrees to, what did you say? Just somebody
Just
that is,
arms, legs, head,
yeah,
just a lot, just a body almost.
Yeah.
A lot of our employers are looking less at what the educational levels are. They're kind of glossing, you have you have an associate's degree. Oh, but we're going to use your experience.
mhm,
We are seeing a lot of that lately. Not with driving trucks, though. They do have to have a
yeah,
certified
right.
driver's license so,
That's right.
to do the trucking part of it, but
Do need
other
that.
things.
I've
Yeah.
seen
They're kind of-
a lot of feedback too with the meetings I've been in on how large of a role attitude is playing now too. I mean, just when you're viewing the individual on a personal level rather than the education, you know, how
Mhm.
willing are they to be to work and jump in, and are they going to
Mhm.
match those things? So yeah.
Attitude is key. That's all we keep talking about. You hire for the attitude and you just train for the skill.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. That's very different than 20 years or so ago.
Yeah.
Some of the folks, obviously in the top left here, we've got Barbara's logo, but we're working with probably 300-400 different workforce development organizations, from Newark down to a lot of organizations in Texas, big and small. And I think, as you'll hear from the session today, having the ability to send a little text with the link to a page of content is a very elegant, simple solution. And that's really what we're going to be talking about. When we started our company, we were building apps and we were doing all of these, very elegant things, augmented reality, virtual reality. But it turns out that the average job seeker really wants to use their phone, not their computer, and do two things. And the first thing is text messaging. The open rates, I think, for email these days is, it's probably, what do you think, Barbara? 20%, 25% maybe on
I
open
would say,
rates?
yeah, I would say definitely less than 30%.
Yeah, less than 30%. The open rates on texting, we've read 90%, 95%. It kind of depends, I guess, but it's certainly 4 times what it is on the texting side. So you're going to hear us, all 3 of us, talk about text messaging. No matter,
I do have proof.
and Barbara's going to share some proof. No matter what you take away from this, everybody on this call should be using text messaging as a supplement, which might turn into the number one thing you use to engage with your audience. So that's one piece of what we do. And Max, then we created something else, kind of looks like what you see on the screen.
Yeah. So as David mentioned, texting is one half of what the platform's capabilities are, and then the other half is the mobile web apps. So just imagine an app in the traditional sense, the look, feel, and access of it. Only it's all URL based, right? So what that means is there's no download required. So that was a huge hurdle that we were running into kind of in the traditional app sense, where you would download it from the app store, whether it be Apple or Android. But now it's all URL based. So that means that just imagine receiving a little text message, and in that text message is a little link. You can click that link and it opens up to the repository, look, feels, and acts just like an app, where it can have your job fair boards and your one-click job application processes and training events and education opportunities and all the different information that you want everyone to have readily available access to with just the simple click of a link within a text message. And it's phenomenal in the sense of creating that ease of access of information, right? So that's engagement is one hurdle, right? And that's overcome by using the text messaging, right? With those high engagement rates that Barbara and Dave were just talking about, and then creating that ease of access of information. So everything that you want to get to the end user is just one click away. And it's phenomenal in the sense also that no IT is required. So I kind of use the analogy, if you can build a PowerPoint, you can build a mobile web app, right? So it's all drag and drop content, building, and it's on the fly. So you don't have to go through all those 20 different channels to get something adjusted on a website or something along those lines. If you have a job fair that's coming up or an education opportunity that just arose with a partner, bang, you can post it. You can send it out via text message, and it's to the people. And that's the whole point, right? So.
I think it's important to lay on the table. Most folks are not reading email on a regular basis
Mhm.
because it's just coming in. And most people are not sitting in front of a computer or going to do their work on a computer. They've just migrated off of that. So, Barbara, I hear from some prospective clients, I don't know about what Max is saying about the mobile side. I've got a website. Why can't they just go to my website? And what's kind of your take on the whole kind of points that Max is talking about?
Well, everybody has a phone. Not everybody has a computer. Unfortunately, we're seeing some homeless, a lot of homeless people, outside. How are they going to know about job fairs, career fairs? They have a phone.
Mhm.
They don't have a computer. And
Mhm.
when COVID hit, everything was closed. Libraries, because that's where they usually go to.
All
There's a
right.
public library. They go there to use the computers for their job searches. So where were they going?
Mhm.
It obviously doesn't work on a flip phone or a track
Yep.
phone,
Yep.
but everybody either has a Android or an iPhone,
Mhm.
and they're able to get information right at their fingertips
Yeah.
in seconds. And doing a mobile page is so easy. I mean, I was scared. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I needed someone sit side by side, and he's like, you take this, you drop it in. I'm like, that's it.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was it. I said, I don't need you anymore.
All right, let's show some examples. Max, tell everybody what kind of the story is behind this slide, and then we'll have everybody do that.
Yeah, so part of the challenge, right, is building that database of users, right? So how do you get the contact information to continually reach out and engage with the individual? So imagine you have a person seeking a career or an education opportunity, and they want to be included in, and how do they opt in? So it's literally as simple as just asking them. There's two different ways, main ways, and you could say, hey, just text in career to 56512 or whatever number that you would have assigned to you locally. But or they could scan a QR code and boom, they're in your database. And you can even narrow it down a little bit per career opportunities and things like that. But it's super simple to opt in and build that database and then continue to build on that engagement. So you can kind of imagine how that would work, and putting flyers out in the community or whatever ways that you communicate externally, you can simply include that text, demo to 56512, which let's give that all a try here real quick. And you can also scan that QR code, and that will populate you into our little webinar subscriber list here.
So it's important for everybody to do this because Anna, in our marketing department, behind the scenes, she's the icon that you see here, is going to send us some examples to Barbara's website.
Yep.
And
I was going to play along, but I'll wait.
no, so go ahead, Barbara, do that, because this is a
Sure.
special list. And let us know in the chat what you get back. We created a little response. Of course, that would be customized for your own organization.
Absolutely.
The other issue with email too is also when I don't like saying when COVID hit, but when everything broke loose, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were getting their emails hacked or their information. So that even with the security breaches when you go to a convenience store, so now everybody's been using firewalls.
Right.
The issue with the firewalls is doesn't always, if it's an unknown person emailing you, it could dump you right into spam or junk or whatever, or where you could have it set up to automatically delete, or it doesn't work. So you may never get that. I might send out 60 emails and about half of those people may not get it because of the firewall, either the firewall on my end or their end. So that's another issue. There's no firewall with the phone. I get all kinds of weird texts.
Yep. All right. So Lucy got a response, and Karen got one. Anna, maybe you could put in the chat window how to do it as we keep on going through. So now you're in our list. Barbara and I thought we would go through these 5 page by page, and I'll interview Barbara on each one of these. So you can see the list here, and we're going to tackle them one by one. We're going to start with, I think we've already kind of scanned this, but for fun, everybody, take out your phone and scan this code, because that's going to take you right to the homepage, I believe, that Burlington has. So everybody go ahead, take out your phone, and you can see how Barbara has created her little taxonomy here and the categories that she finds helpful. Barbara, why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about how you designed that? Was it difficult, and why did you pick these kinds of categories about young adults and career, etc.?
So with the Workforce Development Board, you have your board. So you need to be able to give your board information. So I had to make an icon for that. But we're also seeing job seekers and employers. So we needed to make it where there's career opportunities for them, there's a toolkit for them to use, and also a toolkit for our businesses. So the toolkit would have, for the businesses, could have something like federal bonding program, work opportunity tax credits. There was a learn and earn opportunity for employers to bring someone on for on-the-job training, and they would get a certain amount of dollars, XYZ. That's why we set up these kinds of toolkits, but for both parties, one for the job seekers, one for employers. The reason why I have adult education on there is because there are people who drop out of high school, and we want to make sure that they have the ability to know where to go to get their high school equivalency. The young adult services, I used to run a youth program, and it was very important for me to have youth information here on apprenticeships. When I do a text blast, I always include everybody, depending on the appropriateness of what I'm sending out. So if it's a job that doesn't want anybody under the age of blah, 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 I may not do youth program, because I know who's in our youth program subscriber list right now, their ages, etc. And then of course I have to put my county on there, or could get fired. But no, there's county information. There's county information on there, logistics, like how large our county is, anybody who's interested. And then I put our local community college in there. Because if someone is unemployed and say, you know what, I need to go back to school, I need to.
Oh, great.
Or I want to know more about RCBC, that's our local community college, Rowan College at Burlington County. I just put that on because I'm also, I like balance. And I didn't like the fact that I would have one icon at the bottom. So
Exactly. It's nice.
I had to do it that way. The picture that's on there is just a picture from the side of the road. I sent it to the engineers. I told them what I needed. I gave them icons I gave them pictures for the different icons. And if I didn't have something, they selected something for me. I approved it. And that was, it was so easy to do. And I told them what colors I wanted. It's so customizable and easy. I don't know how many times I gotta say easy.
And no IT involved here. This is something that you did with some
Zero IT, because IT is like, oh, I have enough to do. We're down people. And I'm like, I don't do anything. I'll handle it.
All right. So we're going to go through that list. Pickier Job Seekers in the chat window, everybody. And in fact, are we going to do a poll, Anna, about some of the, let's take a look at this. Let's spend 30 seconds, everybody. Tell us which of these are your biggest challenge. And then Barbara and I will talk about them one by one. So another 10 seconds. Go ahead, make your selections. Go ahead, everybody, and we will display the results in a few seconds. Be interesting to see, Barbara. What's your prediction, Barbara, on which of these will probably get the most votes? It's hard to know, huh?
Honestly, I think it's maybe the lack of engagement with job seekers or the fact that job seekers are much pickier.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Anna, let's show the results and we'll talk about them.
Low engagement. You're right.
Okay. I was a little
Oh.
wrong on the second choice.
Okay, so low engagement, 71%. That's a lot. That means that 71% of everybody on this webinar said that's a big problem.
Yeah,
Then
it
the
is a
next-
problem.
The next one is interesting, Barbara, managing employer partner relationships, which we're going to talk about. 43% of folks said that that's been kind of a challenge for them. Is that surprising in relationship to this list? Or
Not
maybe
really.
if they're not getting the people, they're probably a little upset.
Mhm.
So, and then short-staffed and people are pickier. Okay, so we'll move on. So let's talk about picky job seekers. Is this a new phenomenon?
Lately, yes. Employers during the pandemic struggled, those who were still open struggled to keep people employed. The retention was horrible. So they, even when it picked up and doors were open and etc., it was more of, I need to give them a bonus. Even to come to work for 5 days, they were giving bonuses. They were
Wow.
giving bonuses to sign. They were giving bonuses after 30 days, after 60 days. Sometimes after a year, you got this extra bonus. So what was happening is they were picking the ones that had the better bonus, and because they were a live body, they took it. And unfortunately, after the bonus time period was over and they got that bonus, they hopped to a different job.
Terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
turnover is so bad. It'll be interesting in the chat window. Let us know if some of you have some horror stories like what Barbara is talking about. There's an interesting one here, Barbara, if you
Yeah.
see it in the chat window, do you want to comment on that?
I did. So it's hard to get employers to participate in events because they are so busy, because they're short-staffed.
Yeah.
So they have other things going on and can't designate staff to. I said, can you just send like your facilities person just to
That's
stand
right.
there?
Just to stand there.
Just stand there. I totally can agree why they don't attend. I have struggled with bringing employers to career fairs. I used to get 100 at a time. I'm lucky if I can get 30.
Oh my gosh.
But they're usually the bigger employers, so they do have some staff. It is hard to do a career fair.
I have seen some feedback from several different workforce development boards that I've worked with, that when they're having the relationship with the employers, they've actually seen a higher level of engagement with text message just due to that simple fact. A small business owner, especially, they're running around, they're wearing 20 different hats. They might not have time for the emails and things, except for maybe super early in the morning or late at night when they're kind of settled, the dust is settled, and they can explore things and see what all they've missed. But text messages, ding, it's right there. They can engage real quick, takes 10 seconds, back in the pocket, and it's done, right?
Yep.
So how that, I've seen that feedback from multiple sources,
So a tip I would suggest is, when you do create those partnerships with businesses, is explain the whole Engage by Cell process, get their phone number or have them subscribe. And then that way, the next invite I send out, you'll be on that invite. So they don't have to run around and check their desktop. They'll get it. They'll get the invite. Oh, there's a career fair. Great.
Short staff, we talked a little bit about this. You were saying that in your job, you are so thinly staffed, and it'll be interesting in the chat. Let us know, folks, if you're experiencing the same thing that Barbara is, that you don't have time to make 100 phone calls and remind job seekers to come to a fair. You need something that's going to buzz their phones.
Yep. So usually when there's a job fair coming up, may not be mine, maybe somebody else's. Frito-Lay just had a job fair for a merchandiser opportunity. So created the page, did the blast. But what I usually do strategically is I don't just send it out one time. I send it out almost like every other day. So it depends. If I get it 2 months in advance, I'm not really going to start it that quickly. So you have to just strategize as to when you want to dump it. So if I started on a Thursday and the career fairs are Thursday, I might say it again on Monday. And then I do a, hey, don't forget, or here's your reminder for Wednesday for the career fair. And I just keep driving the job seekers to that fair.
Yeah, so great. That's so great. All right, let's keep going through low engagement. I think that was the number one. And you have told us many times, if people aren't reading the email, they're not going to apply for the job. They're not going to go to your website. They're not going to get trained. It's just, it's bad.
Yeah.
And I think you have some examples, and people love examples of when you send something by email or when you send something by text. What kind of stories can you share with us?
I can share the most recent story. So there is an apprenticeship fair that happened this morning at 8 o'clock. Only 700 applications were being accepted. First come, first served basis. Got the information last Thursday. I posted it on our county jobs portal, which also does a subscribership, but it would get an email. So after I do a post and I hit publish, not only does it go live on our county portal in its like back end employment area, and for the people who subscribe get an email. At the same time, I did the page for Engage by Sell, did the text, blasted it out. So this morning, I checked how many viewers looked at the email and how many viewers checked or actually clicked into the post. So the email was only 35 views, and I'm looking at 400 subscribers I sent it to. 35. I'm looking at about 600 subscribers for Engage by Sell, and I had about 150 views.
Because you can tell how many hits you get from a link,
Yes.
right? And this is, if everybody on the call clicks that link, this is the page that you loaded today. This is the
Well, no, I loaded that last Thursday.
And then you sent it out today, right?
I sent it out Thursday, Monday, and then again on Wednesday, yesterday. So it said, hey, reminder, don't forget, because you get 160 characters. So I've also learned how to like omit things.
Condense
sometimes it's not grammatically correct. I'm like, I have 0 characters. So I take out the A.
But you filled the spots, basically. All 700 spots are gone. 35 or so hits from an email and posting, and 135, 40 or so from a text. It's a 4X. That's not surprising. It's just not surprising. But I think some folks just don't realize the power is maybe 4 times greater than an email.
Right. So the application process opened at 8 o'clock and it was closed at 8:20.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
Get in at 8:20.
All right, a few more. Low retention. Tell us about this, Barbara, this whole idea that people just kind of forget about it. Texting is a way to kind of bring them back, right, to the center.
Yeah. So when you do your page, you include as much information as you want. So instead of just getting information saying, oh, so if you're just doing a text without linking it to what Max was saying, a whole nice big page, they're going to be like, oh, there's a career fair next week at the library, but they have nothing else to do. So they're not really going to take the time to go look at the library's information, see, time, place, whatever, how many employers are going to be there. So when I make the link, because you get a little tiny short URL for each page you create. So when you do your text blast, you just add that little tiny URL. So it's very easy to drive them right to that page at their fingertips. And it gives them all the information possible, how to apply. Everything you want to put in there, you can put in there.
And we just sent out, Anna just sent out a text. Your interview with Engage by Sell is tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Zoom, blah, blah, blah. Could be a link, could be, what do you think? Is it okay? But it's this reminder that hits your phone. Yeah. It certainly helps with retention. And then we talked a little bit about partnerships. my guess is that these partners just love that you're taking their job,
Mhm.
posting basically and texting it to 500 people. How can they
Yes.
not like that?
Correct. And it's free.
And it's free. Yeah.
We don't charge them. There's no fee for the service. No, absolutely not. Why would I charge you to find an employee? Let me just do it for you. And then you got them hooked. It's like, reach out to me whenever you want. I don't also make them jump through hoops either. Like, oh, you have to go to this page to fill out this form, whatever. So if there's, I just say, what's your website? I go on the website and I say, is this the career you want? Fine. And I just do it's an easy cut and paste right into the page I want to create.
So if they
So easy.
called you today and said, hey, I really would like this to go out, how long would it take for you to create a little mobile page and for you to schedule a text to go out tomorrow morning?
From start to finish, about a half hour.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and that's given, like, if I have to look for something in my link, I usually give it a half hour because I also test it on myself to make sure that the link will work.
Yep.
Some things get a little wonky. I don't want anybody coming back to me in an email saying your thing didn't work. I haven't gotten that yet. So I always test it on myself.
Yep.
But it is so easy to put it. You can put anything you want in there. I've added maps to career fairs. I've added apply here. What else have I put in there? I just, like, I'll steal their logo off the internet. I'll steal their information off the internet, dump it in. And then when I send it to them, and then sometimes I say, oh yeah, go click here and you'll see your post. And they're like, oh my God, that's great.
Yeah.
It's
well,
just
and
satisfies
texting is
them.
so informal. You know, if you had to create an email, you're going to have to make sure it's grammatically correct and this and structured and formatted. People wanted informal way to communicate. And we have quite a few clients in the workforce that might say, good morning, this is Barbara. Got a really interesting job opportunity from XYZ. Click this link. The click-through rate is through the roof because it's just the way people behave.
So I believe I don't know what, I have to look, but so we had a request from our economic development partner for toll booth operator. And I think I had it up for a week and they had to call me and say, can you please take it down? Our staff is inundated with applications.
Yeah.
So I took it down. I haven't put it back up yet. So I guess it all worked out.
Wow. That's amazing. When you can fill a job that fast, the partners are going to love that. So
yeah.
they're gonna love
And
it.
that's how I get more partners, because it's like, well, go tell everybody, go tell your friends.
Yeah, right. Okay, a couple more slides and then we're done. Max, I'll let you and Barbara talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, these are just going to be more of your firsthand examples and what you saw kind of work and what didn't work and things like that, Barbara. I know one of the first questions that I get asked when a workforce development board or DOL is interested is, how do I build my database, right? And we kind of talked in the very beginning by having people text in and scan the QR code, but what was kind of your strategy of deploying those? How did you get people to start opting in and things like that?
Threaten them. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So we started with our workforce board. And so also what we have is you have one, like you type in, WDB to the code, but you also can have as many secondary key codes you want. So I have one for careers, which is really for our local community college students. So if they're doing an event, they say type careers into la, 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 la.
Nice.
That's how we get them to do that, right?
Yeah.
So same with, we also serve Workforce New Jersey customers, someone who's receiving benefits, whether it's temporary assistance for needy family or SNAP, which is supplemental nutrition, program. I forget the A, assistance program, sorry.
Right.
So, those are customers who are receiving benefits and they have to do, work activity. They also need employment. So why wouldn't I get them to subscribe? So what we've done is the vendors who are serving those populations, I say, make those part of your onboarding. That's exactly what we do for our job centers. Make it part of your onboarding. So any customer that comes in, we say, hey, we know you're going to training. But after training, you need employment. So we're going to be shooting out these alerts and events and career fairs information. You really need to get on a subscriber list. So then I've just broken my list down different ways.
Yeah. And that's what I see a lot is how easy it is just to integrate subscribing into the normal process anyway, right? So there's an intake process to any of these programs you mentioned, and just integrating it into, hey, text this to that is just part of the process, and that database will grow so quickly, right? And then what kind of feedback did you get from employers and people that were opting in? Was everybody happy to do it? What kind of feedback did you get?
They thought it was the coolest thing. They're like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And they like it. Because then you also get to save it to your, as I guess they call it a widget. You save it on your phone. And it's actually an app.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Someone asked me a question of how I get somewhere. I'm like, wait, I have it on my app, and I have to look at my app, and I tell them when the career fair is, because sometimes you just forget.
Yeah.
It's just right there. It's right at your fingertips. They love it. And you send reminders for meetings. Hey, don't forget our workforce development board meeting. Of course, I only send it to that group. Hey, it's this Friday. Or you can send, when you have job customers that, starting it's getting a little rough with start dates, etc. So the customer may be waiting a week or two. You don't want them to forget. Send them a text.
It's just those little touch points make a huge difference. Yeah. And real quickly, just because we're running short on time a little bit, but can you tell us how you utilize the reporting and the data and what you gather from that and measure the efficacy and all those things?
Well, I make sure that it's going to be good information. So if something is not being opened, or I have to go in to see why, but the reporting is huge because they want to, everybody wants to know what their return on their investment is. We're using federal dollars across the board to, it's a renewal at this point, but to actually get this digital tool at our fingertips, we have to kind of hey, it's not, you're seeing the return, and I get it, verbally, but it's good to have on paper where you can see, I sent out this many text blasts, I've had, 14,000 page views, etc. And you can just see where it may have died off, where the activity is. Okay, so the activity is not great in the summer because everybody's on summer. It's like when to do things, you can actually figure out and get the pulse on when you should have your activity.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, I like that.
Nice. All right, our final slide here. If we just go through these advantages, I think these are the ones that you had talked about today, Barbara. Higher attendance at events for sure.
Yeah.
Like the toll booth, faster position placements, and what happened today.
Yeah.
So much more efficient than you trying to use phones and or email when you can just create the page on the mobile site and then schedule it to go out. So efficiency through the roof. Job seekers, they don't complain. They like it. They voluntarily opted in, and they can opt out whenever they want to opt out. And you were saying that many job seekers stay on the texting even when they get a job, because maybe they're going to find a job that's more interesting.
They may, because we've sent out tons of information, so they don't want to miss out on those opportunities. So they're like, it doesn't hurt anything. She doesn't, you have to strategize on when you send them out too. I don't do 3 and 4 a day. I don't inundate their phone either, because that's when you're going to get a huge, I'm done.
Yeah, that's right. You're sending about how many in a week, would you say?
I try to send one every day, except for Saturday and Sunday. I also make sure, even though, you should be, if you're unemployed, you should be up at 8 o'clock and hitting the ground. I know, I don't want to, what if you want to take a day off? I don't know, take a day off. You don't want to be dinged in the morning. So I try to make sure that I do something, and it's noon to 5. And I just have to be strategic on it, on how
and make it something relevant and exciting. You're not going to just say, have a nice weekend. That's kind of a waste of text. You're going to send them, hey, I've got this really interesting opportunity, or there's a job fair, or there's something going on.
So on Friday, so we have someone who's able to scrape Indeed for us to see who's hiring in Burlington, and that they have a post on Indeed. So he gives me this list. So I upload the list. It's an Excel spreadsheet. I upload it. It accepts it, and then I can send it out saying, hey, here are the latest jobs on Indeed. And I do that on a Friday. So that was last Friday, and it's so far it's got like 60 hits, 60
Wow.
views.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Then you said that you have some great stats. We looked it up, 40,000 texts, 5,000 page views. That's a lot of page views. That's
Yeah.
a lot of people clicking that text. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Max, a few things here and then we'll finish it up.
Yeah, super quickly. One thing that we see more often than not is when an organization starts to utilize our platforms, right? Especially in the workforce world, they share it with their colleagues, or people see it in action, and then they want, oh man, that's an awesome, phenomenal service. I can use it this way, or I can use it that way, right? So we work with many different human resource departments and training and all those different aspects. Recruiting and internal communications. Obviously, you can receive text messages to that latest training video, or if there's an emergency, whether it's weather, et cetera, hey, the factory's closed tomorrow, we're getting 3 feet of snow, right? Things like that. And then obviously the power externally is immense when you can include little marketing messages of, hey, check out this latest and greatest product, or here's a coupon code, or something along those lines, right? And then nonprofits communicating within those volunteer groups often is something I see that's extremely challenging, that can be resolved with text messaging, right? And it's something that opens the door to grow those nonprofits too. So everybody wants to jump in and help, and it just creates that easier avenue to build that growth within the organization. So
yeah,
you can help provide many, many different solutions for many, many different problems. Yeah.
We actually take our QR code on the road too when we start opening events. Just, hey, just scan this, you're in.
Yeah, that's such
Super
a great
easy.
idea. Yep, that's right. And some of your organizations that are on the call today, you might have hundreds and thousands of employees because you're working for colleges, et cetera. So just like Max said, you can use these tools for HR, for onboarding,
Anything.
for benefits, for anything. People, if they opt in, and most of the time they're going to opt in because I want to know about my benefits, I want to know about vacation, or I want to know about job fairs.
Right.
Yeah.
And with texting,
you can even do like a scavenger hunt for new students if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Or new employees, like, hey, where's the bathroom?
Yeah, that's right. Where's the bathroom? Next step, Barbara put her email in the chat. Anybody that wants just a little brainstorming session with Max and myself, just ping us. Here's our contact. No pressure. We'll brainstorm with you. Anybody that would like to talk to Barbara, she's really worked this over the last 6 or 7 years, so she really knows mobile and workplace and workforce as well as anybody. We would just love to, help you folks out, and I think we are all big advocates of using a phone from a mobile page to a text message. Any follow-up, Barbara, before we go, or any final comments?
I mean, it's such a great tool to have, and literally in your back pocket when you put your phone there.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone wants to ask me other questions, feel free to email me. I had an email saying, hey, are you doing a renewal? I'm like, absolutely. Don't even ask that question. Just send me an invoice.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Max and Anna. And we would love to chat with you, and Barbara will be glad to as well. And thanks for attending our session today.
Oh, you're
Great
welcome.
seeing
Thank you.
everybody. All right. Thanks, Barbara.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.